Hello, this is David and welcome to Make Me Proud, the YouTube series documenting my campaign to become a better sprint swimmer. And in this episode, I'm going to be conducting a technical analysis of my 100 meters freestyle race from the Swim England Masters Nationals Short Course Championships 2023. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you will know that it was my goal to swim said 100 meters race in under 60 seconds. However, that didn't come to pass, and not only did I not manage to achieve that goal, but I also failed to improve on my previous personal best time of 101.88 that I set in April earlier this year at the Scottish Masters Nationals Short Course Championships. Therefore, if you would give this video a like, I would very much appreciate it. And remember to subscribe to this channel to make sure that you know of whenever I upload any new videos. Similarly, if you are a fellow Masters swimmer looking to improve your swim times and believe that more consistent healthy eating has a role to play in helping you to achieve that, then head on over to westcough.com/masterclass and watch my Masters Swimmers Nutrition Masterclass. But otherwise, without any further ado, let's dive right in to today's technical analysis. So a slow reaction time off of the blocks means that I'm already on the back foot right at the start of this race, and therefore have to put down a lot of power in order to keep up with the rest of the pack. At the first turn, I turn too far out from the wall, meaning that I don't really get a good push off, nor do I utilise any fly kicks to give my lats a bit of a break. And down the second 25, I'm really keeping up that power with my arms. At the 50, my turn isn't quite so bad, however, again, I don't utilise any fly leg kick, and hence I'm really having to rely on my lat muscles in order to keep up the power in this race. Again, at the third turn, I make the same mistakes as I do at the first, and hence the fatigue starts to creep in, and that really shows in the final 12.5 meters of this race, as I really can't keep the power down, meaning that I finish with a time of 102.21. So from that race, I believe that there are three key talking points. The first of which being the reaction time off of the dive. The second being my turns and how close to the wall that I turn. And third is whether I went out too quickly in that race. So starting off with my dive, first thing that comes to mind when watching that race is that it was an absolutely dreadful reaction time, meaning that I started off on the back foot right at the beginning of the race. Now, it was really disappointing that this happened, because when I did my 50 meters fly race, I really nailed the reaction time, and therefore this is something that I know that I have in me, but wasn't able to replicate it in my 100 meters freestyle, the race that I actually cared the most about at this Nationals Championships. How I can go, and the reason I believe that said reaction time happened was because I got held a little bit on the blocks after take your marks. I really hate it when, it's not a nice smooth flow through from take your marks, then the buzzer sounds. There was quite a large gap in between that, meaning my legs start to get tense, and also as well you start to mentally get a little bit tired, because you don't know when that buzzer is going to come. You are spending mental energy on listening out for that buzzer and when it's going to sound, and propelling yourself forward, as opposed to that buzzer sounding nice and quickly after take your marks, and then you're on thinking about the next elements of your race, i.e. the dive and the underwaters. Everyone else seemed to manage to do that fine. However, for whatever reason, I just lost my nerve and therefore didn't react quickly enough. Part of the reason I believe that is because I didn't get a good night's sleep the night before, and therefore was mentally a little bit tired and therefore out of it, and therefore had I gotten a good night's sleep the night before, I might have been able to have reacted a little bit quicker to that. So very important to make sure that you get a good night's sleep, because otherwise, you may get a poor reaction time off of the blocks, which puts you on the back foot already. And a dive is a key aspect of a race, especially the smaller the distance that it is, and therefore you really want to be nailing that dive. So moving on to the second aspect of that race, which is the turns, and this is probably the element that most let me down. Whilst the dive, I probably lost about 0.2 seconds, just due to the slowness of the reaction time. The turns probably lost me, a significant amount of time, maybe a second or more. And the reason for that is first off, when turning at the wall, you really want to get a nice push off, because that is the point when swimming down any length that you are fastest. So the harder that you push off from the wall, the more speed that you get off of the wall, the quicker that you are going to go down that length. Because ultimately what you're trying to do down a length is accelerate hard off of the wall and maintain that speed as much as you can, because when you start hitting into your stroke weight with your arms, you are just ultimately slowing down. So it's just a case of trying to maintain that speed that you have off of the wall, and therefore it's really key that you get a really good push off of the wall. And that means that you have got to time your turn perfectly, so that you don't turn out too far away from the wall, nor turn out too close to the wall. Because if you turn out too far away from the wall, like I did in that race on pretty much all 3 turns, it means that you get a really weak push off from the wall, and therefore don't get a lot of impulse off of it. You don't get much speed thereafter, meaning that you've really got to rev down hard with your arms in order to accelerate up to speed, which of course costs a vital amount of energy. Similarly, if you turn too close to the wall, it means that your legs really aren't in a good position, meaning you might end up pushing yourself down instead of straight across, or you have to waste valuable time in repositioning your legs before you can push off on that down that length. So it's really important that you turn nice and close to the wall, get a good push off in the right direction, utilize that speed, and then thereafter go into your fly leg kicks. Because whilst you may be actually quicker with your arm rotation than you are with your fly leg kicks, your flying leg kicks just get you that little bit further off of the wall, and you're utilizing different muscle systems when doing fly leg kick than when you have your arms rotating, and therefore it just saves a little bit of energy in your arms, which off of 1 turn may not be so vital. However, when you've got 3 turns in this race, obviously the more energy that you can save, the better, because naturally from that race, I absolutely died down the last 12.5 meters, and had I nailed each one of those turns and utilized fly leg kicks coming out of it, I wouldn't have had to put the power down with my arms coming out of those turns, meaning I would have saved that energy, which might have made the difference down that last 12.5, where I could have maintained that speed going into the wall, and therefore significantly reduced my time. And therefore, absolutely nailing those turns are absolutely vital, and therefore is the reason that I believe that I suffered most in this race. So moving on to the third aspect, which is whether I went out too fast or not in this race. And ultimately, the answer to this question is I don't know. I can argue it both ways. So the reasons for is because naturally I died down the last 12.5 meters, and therefore just lost a lot of speed, and hence had I been a bit more conservative in the first 50, I might have had a little bit more energy in the bank to finish off nice and strong, and thereby ultimately finishing with a better time. However, my argument against that relates back to point 2, in that had I nailed my turns really well, then I would have saved energy in my arms and legs. Therefore, with each turn that I nailed, I might have been able to get closer to the wall before fatiguing and really slowing down. So, you know, had I nailed one of those turns, I might have had 5 extra meters in the bank to hit with full power. Had I nailed 2, then that'd been 10 meters. And had I nailed all 3, then I might not have slowed down at all, because, you know, I just had that energy, that power to really see things home. So therefore, I'm verging more towards the fact that I didn't go out too hard, and it was more that because I screwed up the turns, I had to utilize energy in order to make up for it, and therefore that ended up in me fatiguing too early in this race before the end of the wall, and hence had I nailed the turns, that wouldn't have happened. However, you know, I will just have to see in future races if I go out at the same pace, but this time nail the turns, as to whether that means I fatigue that far out from the wall. Perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps I, you know, will fatigue just as early, or perhaps I won't. Perhaps that's really what I need to see things through with full power, nailing things, because, you know, really need to get a good first 50 in order to give me enough time to get that second 50, so that I come in under 60 seconds. So yeah, my first 50 time was 29.39. Had I nailed the turn again, it might have been a 29 point, which would have given me 31 seconds to finish the second 50 off under a time of 60 seconds. So if my goal is to achieve that sub 60 100 meters freestyle, because there's the dive, naturally the first 50 is going to be faster than the second 50, and therefore I can't really let up all that much speed in order to give me enough time to finish that second 50 within that 60, to make the whole race come in under that 60-second time limit. So a bit of a debatable point there, but yeah, it's just one that I'm going to have to test out in future races and in future training sessions as well. So that is it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been David Westcough, and I'll see you again next time. Subscribe to my channel to make sure that you're notified of whenever I upload any new videos. Click on the thumbnail to watch another video of mine, or for my fellow master swimmers, to gain clarity and confidence on how to eat in order to improve your swim times, head to westcough.com/masterclass.